They told us we were too Black. They told us we were not Black enough. They told us we don't talk Black. They told us we don't know how to be Black. But now we have young people writing our stories with authenticity. That's some family work. That's some persistence. And I'm happy that Hollywood in some ways is paying attention.
I'm so excited to be doing this roundtable with all of you who are so esteemed and have done so much. And so I wanted to start the conversation talking about, the success that you guys have had, but also just to talk about the concept of, Black fame. What does that kind of concept, like Black famous or, Black fame, mean to you? I will start with Sheryl, since everyone anointed you as the person who we go to.
Well, something, it's so interesting that you bring that up, because I'm going to say about 2, maybe 3 years ago, I did a series called Fam for CBS. And one of the executive producers came up to me because the network and somebody else said, no, this is the person. So I came on, and he walked right up to me on that first day and he said, so tell me, what have you done?
Wow.
Wow. And I was like, wow. And so I was quiet. And he said, do you sing? And I said, oh. So then I just said, excuse me for a minute, but maybe you should ask somebody, because you might be very embarrassed that you asked me that question. And I want us to get off on the right foot together. So even in unsuspecting places, that can be very much a thing, where there are certain people who have no idea who you are and what you've done after all these years.
Listen, I was in Serving Spoon yesterday with the Rams and the 49ers, and Channel 5 was there with my picture on the wall, and they came in, they were clueless. After we finished eating, all of the young girl came up and said, Mr. Mike, can I have a picture with you? And they were like, wait. And we got up and left. They were clueless. They didn't put us on film. They filmed the people behind. It was so funny. But if you're lucky enough to be in something that's mixed racial, and like I was in Grey's Anatomy, and I had to get used to having fans from other races after that started. So everything is changing, and life is so different now. I mean, I don't know what to do about the changes, but you do kind of laugh at it,
You have to laugh. I mean, even for me, even within our community, I have fans that know me from the Steve Harvey show that haven't even seen the game. And that's been about 18 years of my life, So it's really interesting, the roles that you get noticed for, and then the ones that are just like, now where are you? Just going back to what Sheryl was saying, it's like, now how long have you been in? And it's like, yeah. So I guess that's what keeps us so humble. And so
that's the truth.
Yeah, there's something I like to add. When it comes to fame, you talk about certain characters or roles or projects you've been a part of. It's interesting when people don't allow you to, sort of shed that character or shed that, that things that you're doing now and currently, you know what I mean? Right. They might sort of kind of keep you in that one light. And as artists, we're always trying to evolve. We're always trying to do something a little bit different. And, it would be nice if Hollywood could, have those kinds of more opportunities for us to be able to expand, so people can know us from a variation of things. But, it's interesting as I see all of you amazing artists, and, fame is a big thing. But what I see here is the work ethic that you all have put in, the true gifts and the talents, because today's era, you don't have to be talented necessarily. You don't necessarily have to have an art to be famous. right? And I think sometimes people kind of get that mixed up. Like they want to become famous for all the wrong things, and there's nothing really attached to it. But, you know, what we see here, just an incredible amount of talented and graceful artists who are famous. And it's sad that, you know, sometimes we get caught up with people may not recognize us for the things that, you know, we feel so proud of, right? With the things that we're so excited about. And it happens, but the real people know. Loretta, the real people know. Sheryl, the real people know. And so that's what's important.
Fame is so tricky, I think, because I just found a store that I've never been in and I loved it, but I can't go back because the guy at the cash register went ape because he went, oh my God!
Sometimes you just want to go into the store and shop without people going crazy.
I grew up on you, and I'm going to call my mom. My grandmother loves you. It's like, watch out now, you're getting deep. You know? So it's always either one extreme or the other. It's all a little scary. Depending on where you are, if you're at the airport or and people don't have their mask on, they're going, can we take a picture? You're going, oh my God. I mean,
not today. So,
yeah, it's a tricky, kind of scary, creepy thing when you're a girl. That's all I got to say.
But the fame worked in your favor because I didn't get any tickets to the Rams game. You were at the Rams, and because
I was not famous.
You were at Silver Spoon. You gotta listen,
you know what I'm saying?
She was at the restaurant next door to where the game was.
Right, I had to watch it. Yeah.
Spoon where you can take your mask off when you eat, but you probably shouldn't. But I did.
You know, I think it's really has a lot to do with how particular shows are marketed to particular demographics, right? And so you have a show, it's mostly Black people, which Loretta, you know, just alluded to, that if it's an all Black cast, then so often that show is marketed, you know, for the Black audience. There's no consideration that people of other races might be appreciative of the artistry of a show, you know? So it all gets marketed a certain way, you know? It gets marketed, you know, through radio. It's marketed for the Black audience. And I think that's an assumption that networks make. So it's really very rarely that there's an all Black show that really gets pumped and pushed out to everyone, you know? And that I find that to be something that, and I didn't know it as much until there was Netflix, right? Yeah. So now, say for instance, Greenleaf was first on OWN, and then it's carried on Netflix, right? And so there's so many women of so many races and cultures who saw this show who were like, yes, wow, Lady May, because every woman wants to realize their power within their lifetime. Every woman, you know, sees that when you put your career aside for family and all of that, and then start to step into your purpose. So I've had, you know, all over, you know, places in Europe, and Brazil loves that show. And so this now streaming, I think we have more of an opportunity to have other audiences join in. And I think we need to be, you know, really conscious that we ourselves have to try to put it on platforms, our stories on platforms where people really will partake of it, because it's a choice. They can scroll through and say, "Ooh, that looks interesting. Maybe I'll check that out," you know? We haven't had that so much as a Black storytellers, African-American storytellers, Black storytellers. It's all, they tell people what they should watch, you know?
But it's also, I'm also seeing with streaming, marketing is everything. Because even in streaming now, the way they line up the shows to tell you what are the picks, what you should be watching. Once again, there become these new pigeonholes. But, you know, it's interesting because I see a little bit of opposite. I've been doing a show for the past 3 years called Motherland Fort Salem, where I play the president, the 45th president in an alternative world of the United States of America. Incredible series about the feminine power. Nobody knows it's there. Wow. Marketing, marketing, marketing. On the flip side, while I was doing that show, I was also doing Ray Donovan. Towards the end, I was doing Abbott Elementary. Then it's like boom, boom, two very different audiences. But the way those shows are marketed lets you once again go back to who gets to see you, what kind of famous do you become? Black famous or just famous?
Well, wow. if I could add on to what both Lynn and Sheryl are saying, is that I think a large part of it has to do with who's in the room in representation in making those decisions in those marketing rooms. Are those people who look like us, who understand, as I would say, overstand our value, and that the fact that we tell stories that are not monolithic. So it doesn't mean that these stories that are specifically just only for Black folk, right? We can certainly be global. And when you have a streaming platform that really gets behind what you're talking about when it comes to marketing, you see the effects. So when you travel abroad and you see everybody who knows who you are, historically, Hollywood has always taught us we don't translate overseas or worldwide. Right. But when you start traveling and you go everywhere and you can't walk down the street, you then know that there's been somebody telling you something all along that's right. Wrong. And my true belief as to why they do it is because Hollywood likes to sort of devalue Black artists and Black folk, because you get super talented people at a discounted rate. You get a Hollywood likes to get really talented Black folks and get them at a discounted rate. Only certain superstars that can hit that level that they would feel like they would put a machine behind. But the truth of the matter is we do translate because we're humans just like everyone else. If you just allow us to tell the stories, right? If you just allow and understand that we can relate to people that may be going through something. A mother is a mother, no matter what. A woman that's dealing with something, a father that's dealing with something, human experiences, really transcend color and race, right? Now we get specific when it comes to our stories, but it still can translate. And it really comes down to Hollywood having some real inclusion with people in those rooms who can make the decision that look like us, real decisions in those marketing rooms, in those PR rooms, in the board rooms, all the way down, and green lighting projects that we know should be told. I mean, we could spend a lifetime of all of our careers telling a variation of stories.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. You talk about Netflix once again, and our popularity once people see us. When Moesha hit Netflix, I was like, whoa, this is incredible. Yeah. It was like a whole nother generation from, like you just said, from around the world. They were like, I love this show. And I'm like, baby, that show is 25 years old. But they love it everywhere they've seen it. You're absolutely
right. Talk about that also, even with the game, because when we hit Netflix, it was the same thing. It became multi-generational. And what I'm seeing now with Paramount Plus, they did a huge marketing campaign, more than I've ever seen in my entire career. But it was very intentional also. It's inner city, it's Atlanta, it's inner city, Crenshaw, when I'm in LA, New York, we were in Times Square, but it was very intentional in the marketing. So I think the more broader that we are with the marketing, the more eyeballs we can get, because it's a great show. And everybody's like, I've never seen this show until it was on Paramount Plus. Yeah. But we have been
but seem like all of the streaming networks now are competing. I think there are more Black shows on now than I have ever seen in my life, with brand new young people who you can't imagine how much they're paying them. You have But there, and it's like 4 or 5. Everybody is including the new woman, the new director, who's never directed before and maybe should not be directing, but is. Nobody says a word about it because we must get these things done, because the racism and the problems in this country are already built into the system. Everything is already built in. All of the things to keep you down as a race is already built into the structure of the United States of America. So, you know, you have to do these things that must be done. You got to give people breaks. You got to let us in. And so
I'm so excited about how you know, Issa Rae with The Cure, that it actually, you know, started, you know, on YouTube. I mean, on a tiny screen, and how she platformed it all, and how, you know, working with HBO, very specific, very authentic to, you know, our people. So that's very encouraging. I mean, I'm really excited about because, you know, that's just like the doors, the opportunities opening and seeing the viability of it. And it's clear, it's without a doubt, it has been a successful show, you know.
But Issa Rae was even ahead of her own time. I mean, Issa Rae hit it before even anybody was she hit it even before the women's rights things started coming in. So this was a start.
Well, I celebrate her because I think it was right on time, and keeping everything relevant right now still. So that was right on, and that's very encouraging, you know, because that's her material. So I love that.
The torch to so many directors and writers and producers that are doing things, and even the series that she has that have spun off of Insecure have prompted so many other things. Like Kinta,
let's give us brava diva, brava. So you know that makes me hopeful, though. You know, all of these young content creators. Black content creators, women, you know, directors, artists. I'm excited about that, you know, and to take the authority to actually say, this is my story, this is how we really are, and for an HBO or whoever the platform to see the viability of it, and then it just becomes a universal story. Because Larenz, what you were saying is that, yes, our stories are so universal. You know, love lost is universal. Life lost is universal. Betrayal is universal. And so, you know, audiences should be able to see it and decide, right? So, and that's why I love the fact
that we're talking about raising up what this next generation has been able to accomplish. And it is not without what a lot of us went through at the very beginning. I want people to understand that there was heavy lifting done in the 60s, 70s, 80s to get to the 90s and these 2000s. When I think about what Mr. Poitier, Diane Carroll, Eartha Kitt, come on now, Virginia Papers on the stage. What they did, you know,
Rosalind Cash. I love Rosalind Cash.
They wanted to blackball Rosalind Cash because she dared to wear
Diana Sands
for her crown.
Diana Sands, when she said, "I'm wearing my afro. This is who I am." You know, when I think about what they did, the 50s and the 60s, when I think about the 70s, the audacity of Blaxploitation to tell a whole nother story, to at least shine some light on us, whether you agreed with that era or not, it sure did bring together new talent. When I think about the 80s, when I think about the 90s and how there was a time when we owned TV in certain slots, when I think about that, and then I think about an Issa Rae, I think about Alina Waithe, I think about a 50 Cent, I think about my special little Abbott Elementary queen, there in Quinta Brunson. And I am thrilled that from generation, we have become a bit stronger. We have become a bit more audacious. And now it's like you had parents, aunties who knocked down doggone doors because they told us there was no room in this industry for us. You had to be a certain shade. You had to be a certain side. You had to have a certain texture of hair. That's what they told us. They told us we were too Black. They told us we were not Black enough. They told us we don't talk Black. They told us we don't know how to be Black. But now we have young people writing our stories with authenticity. That's some family work. That's some persistence. And I'm happy that Hollywood in some ways is paying attention.
You know what I want to say? It was when I saw you, Sheryl Lee, and It's a Living. It's when I saw you, Lynn Whitfield, as Josephine Baker. It's when I saw you in Waiting to Exhale, Loretta Devine. And Larenz, yes, it's when I had a crush on you in every damn movie. But it inspired me. I will never forget when I first met you, Sheryl. You probably don't even remember, but it was at Ward. I had the biggest girl crush on you because you looked like someone that looks like me that was doing exactly what I wanted to do. And exactly it inspired me to keep going. And I'm not just throwing it out there, but Lynn, and same thing with you. So it's like how we see the Isas and how we see the Lena waves just coming up, just all of the hope that it's giving, but know that all of you right here inspired me to just keep going when it wasn't the easiest thing. I didn't know anybody. I wasn't cute enough to be the lead, but I was cool enough to be the best friend, or I just didn't fit in the Hollywood way of things. You know what I mean? So to speak, but I just kept going, and thank you. I just want to take a moment to just say, thank all of you for just going. Cause I know it wasn't easy. It hasn't been easy for me. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Look at her.
Thank you.
Stop it, Mama. You know, when Loretta played my mama, so I'm really having a hoot of a time. You know what I mean? It's like, wow. You know, just to see the full circle of this business, because it is so small.
I know I'm not a pessimist, or I'm not overly positive either, because tricks are always played on us in that you get all the awards and invite us all to the party. We all go to that one party, then they don't have that party again for 10 years.
Right.
And so I'm always afraid of getting our hopes up so high without getting the power to actually play the game the way the game has to be played. You know, we have new players in the game that have power. We have our Tyler Perrys, we have our Oprahs that can create content. We have our Ava DuVernays. We have all of the new writers that can write it and do it. We just have to make sure that there's no way to stop it, you know, in time, because everything is about the bottom line is the dollar. Everybody is streaming and they don't have back ends. You know, when I got into the business, it was ABC, CBS, NBC, and you got residuals. Now, the young people, they're streaming and they don't, I mean, when they cut things off, how do they eat? They're not going to get paid for who they are. I worry about those kind of things, and making sure that they know that they have to get a back end deal, making sure that they have to be protected, because this is big business. It's not, you know, and you don't end up your family not able to eat, and you have been working for the last 10 years. You know, for chump change, because you don't have a back end. I worry about those kind of things for the new young people.
I do too. I was really surprised.
Queen Moody, don't get in.
Jump
in, Queen Moody. I know you want to say. I can tell. I've been seeing you.
This is a great.
I'm looking at your box. Go for it.
This is a great conversation. I hate to. I love where it's going. I'm just curious, when you all were having such success, let's say in the 90s, let's say with Moesha, or like with Waiting to Exhale, or Steve Harvey Show, or Love Jones, all, and they're hitting in so many different ways. Was there a frustration in that? Why isn't the other community, the general community, really acknowledging and seeing the success and the impact? Like, was there or were you so happy in the impact that you were having within the Black community?
I like to jump in with that really quick, and Wendy, I'll make it quick. The thing that Neil Long and I always talk about is the the impact that Love Jones had on the community. But based on Hollywood standards, it was not a box office success for New Line Cinema. They didn't feel like it had done what, other films had done, things that we had done previously, such as A Menace to Society that I was in. I'd done that with them. Very successful film for them by their standards, but they felt like that wasn't a box office success. And it kind of made us feel like, wow, I mean, if we had, once again, the right marketing strategies and the right marketing dollars, if we had the people who were at sort of the top of the food chain and making those decisions to kind of treat this as if this were a Sleepless in Seattle, if you were to treat this sort of the way you would treat what we call mainstream films, we could have had box office success, right? But at the end of the day, even though it may not have been a success financially at the time for Hollywood, it certainly became a cult classic for Black folks. And it really was something that people can put into their sort of classic cinema of love stories. And to be included in that is amazing. Then opening up doors for other, stories to be told, whether it's Love and Basketball, projects like Soul Food and things like that. It's okay for Black folks to be in a movie where we're not being hurt or no one is getting killed. The only thing getting hurt may be someone's heart, you know what I mean? As opposed to some of the things that we've done. So it was really nice to be a part of that. And, it speaks to, once again, if you put our projects out there and we tell those stories in its authentic way, they're going to survive the test of times, you know what I mean? No matter what. And we can't be deterred by the fact that it didn't have a huge box office success or we didn't have the viewership for a TV show. If we continue to just tell our stories and find people who are in these positions to green light once again, I think that really, really is important. And it would be certainly a part of our success.
I agree with you because it is such a great honor for me, right, to have such loyal people, audience members who appreciate the work. The race of the person, yes, I would love to have the whole world, but if I have the honor of telling a story that will, as Larenz said, become a classic, something that'll be played from generation to generation of my people. That for me is really exciting to me. And yes, I want the whole world, but I love that there are generations of, who love Eve's Bayou, that Casey Lemon's work held up so, that a story that was so interesting, was told and will stand the test of time. And that year, it did do well. It was considered one of the best independent films of that year. And it got absolutely no Oscar play with Journey Smollett and Megan Good. I mean, the most dynamic young people, okay, but yet still, it is a classic. And it will live on. Because one thing, because we don't have as much programming that is ours, people hold on to our stories and they never want it. They never will let it go and they'll want their kids to watch it. And then it's like generational entertainment and for me, that's really precious as well. I don't want our Black audience to feel like, they're not enough, No,
I agree. Listen,
I know, but I'm just saying,
yes.
I'm just saying that without those people tuning into whatever they see, when Sheryl Lee's in something, when Loretta is going to be in something, when all of us are in something, they are right there for us. Yes. It's like Larenz Tate, I like you. He's forever going to be a heartthrob, that is generational. It's not going a damn step. It's always going to be there. So the loyalty of that audience cannot be underestimated or, we always want more, but I'm so grateful to have. Such a loyal audience, right?
I'm with you on that, Queen Lynn, because the thing about us being unapologetic about doing projects that are meant for us. There are things that are intentional. These are for us. You know, this is a story about it. We ain't trying to be like other cultures. We're not trying to tell a remake or create a remake of someone else's journey. We want to specifically talk about ours, and we have to be unapologetic about that. So yes, and that loyalty of our audiences and our community are certainly loyal to us as we are as loyal to them. So it's really important for us to be intentional about these things and unapologetic. And I'm good. I'm happy. I can continue to tell stories that really center around, you know, the Black experience for the rest of my life, because we are universal as we speak. You know what I mean? So
yes,
whoever sees it, it's fine, but it's for us.
Yeah. Exactly. And so there's that piece of, we are Black people. Mm-hmm. So I don't really have to talk about being Black all the time. I really enjoy just sharing a human experience. You know what I mean? This is like, oh, that's a Black story. Well, what the hell is a Black? Look, I'm just a Black woman. And so, you know, if I get to do Lion in winter, I'm like, hallelujah, one of my favorites, you know? Yeah, but like, I don't see a problem with it, honestly, you know? Our Auntie Mames or whatever. So we just are Black artists. That's the color of our skin. That's our race, culturally who we are. But we are all capable of doing any kind of character, any kind of story. It doesn't have to be sort of
really Black.
Sometimes race is expansive, and many times it's limiting for you to put that on it. You know, this is a Black story. Mm-hmm. That is more frustrating to me than anything, because then that's where the marketing, the decided demographic, how it's going to be marketed, how many dollars are going to be put into doing it, because they put like it's like not, and then there is no they, but the thought process in business, I think the economic mind is like, this is where this will be bought, and that's where it will be marketed, you know? And sometimes it just puts limitations up when there don't need to be any.
Very often, where I find that the limitations are often there within certain people's eyes who find it difficult to focus on darkness, to focus on Blackness, to actually see Blackness and value Blackness. We're all talking about Hollywood, which we all know is a machine. We know that there are certain agencies. We know that there are certain studios. We know that there are certain producers. We know that there are certain agents, certain managers within this machine to push the projects, to push the people, to push the ideas to the next level. And it is to get those eyes to be able to focus on something that is not just light, bright to white, but is dark to Black. And that is part of where the
well, now don't leave out Cafe Au Lait, Sheryl. What's wrong?
Cafe Au Lait.
Don't leave. Don't. Come on now.
Okay, I'm not going to forget about High Yellow either.
You can't pin us down like that. You cannot pin us down like that. We are the most colorful bouquet that there is. We
Come
are
on now.
True.
You know what was an interesting journey to me on the Steve Harvey show was working with two of the most prominent kings of comedy at one time in an era where comedy was at a whole nother level, between Steve Harvey and Cedric the Entertainer, and what they did, not only for television, but what they did for that particular show. I think it was interesting how the WB did pretty much market it just to one particular audience, but their value brought so much more. And I got to say, it's the fans and it's the culture that just rides so hard and just really stands by not only the artist, but the product that's going out there. And it was a really magical time going back to the 90s and the early 2000s and what was out there, because it wasn't that many shows. I could count them on pretty much one hand. You know, there was the Martin, Living Color, Living Single, Steve Harvey show, Moesha. We were all right there, and we were the flagships for so
Different
many
world.
new networks.
Different world.
Yeah.
Different
Right.
world.
But we were the flagship shows for starting all these new networks between
Right.
UPN, the WB, all of that. And they put us out there, and we were just guiding and starting these new networks. And to see now where things are going is quite interesting. It's like, okay, so now where are we? That's my greatest.
You know, it was interesting that you talked about comedy and kings of comedy, because, you know, when you look at how, you know, Will Smith transitioned from that, you know, laughing is universal. And when you can pin and hang shows on music and comedy, it makes it a little bit easier for it to have a bigger life, some, you know, a more universal audience. Yeah. You know, like Chris Rock has done a really good job of that. Richard Pryor did a great job with that, you know, so
Flip Wilson.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yes.
You know,
Red Fox, right, exactly. Right. So there's a lineage there.
That it sort of transitions to larger audiences, though, you know, back to the fame thing, because people love to laugh, right? So those when, you know, you've got a concert series of comedy or music and they have those audiences, then it, you know, it expands the whole thing.
It's a universal language. It becomes colorless. It's a universal language.
You know, an executive had told me that, you know, funny is money. And I don't know why I didn't listen to it. I stood in the dramatic line, and I've been in this dramatic, and all the money is over there, and I'm over here.
No, dramatic is a magnet.
You can go take some stand-up classes.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm about to get my funny bag on. I'm getting my funny bag so I can get this money.
You got it right now. You got it right now, Larenz.
I'm curious. We talked a little bit about like the 90s and the early 2000s, and you talked about like starting up these networks, and there was such from both movies and TV, that was in some ways a golden era. And then there's a drop off. And now it seems like, I don't know, do you feel like we're in a golden era again? And what was your feeling when, and how do you feel like career shifted once that kind of changed? You know, that whole, you know, it seems like there's an era where where Black entertainment is in vogue, and then sometimes it shifts.
I don't know. I think you're talking to me right now. You're talking to people that have worked a lot of times when a lot of other people aren't working. I think the comedians always are able to get work because that's what they do, and they already have a following. The musicians, the singers were always able to get work because they always had a following. And now with the internet, it's already, I mean, everybody's trying to build their following, because the more followers you have, no matter your talent, what your talent is, you're able to get in the room. And it's always important that you're able to get in the room. And other people go to college. Black people, they go to school to study acting and become actresses. A lot of people don't have to do that. It's done in so many different kinds of ways. So nowadays, I think it's changed. Everything is different. It's not the way it was in the 90s. It's not the way it was in the 80s, where you had to be able to dance and sing and follow directions and make your mark, and all of the things that the kind of dues that we had to pay to make to play the game. If you weren't a musician already, trying to get into the music business, trying to get into a club to do a joke, if you weren't in that crowd already, and you came in through going to college or something, I think it was, there were things that you had to learn. You had to learn how to act. You had to learn how to sustain. It's a different party now. It's a different game. And I don't know how we would fit into, some of us are better at it than others. I think, and those of us who have kids that are younger are better, because they can show you how to use the internet.
Right.
You know?
Right. What you're saying is like,
show you how to stay active on Instagram and all these other things. And that makes a huge difference. If you have kids that can go, no, Mom, you can't be on there like that. You know?
You don't post it like this.
Yeah,
you
right.
don't do it like that. And so it's to me, I think to my generation, or maybe a little younger too, it's a whole new day. And it's not so much about us anymore. It's all about them, you know, to another extent, and how they are surviving and the things that they are bringing. That's how come I said it's so exciting.
Okay, you have to speak for yourself on that, Loretta. I'm not going to make it all about
Lynn is like, it's still about me.
That. I'm sorry, darling.
Lynn, I know how delusional you are. You don't have to tell the world.
I think what's amazing about all of you is that you have also had this such longevity, you know, and
yeah, see that, Lynn? Longevity.
Yeah, longevity is very good. And I feel like, I'm sure being able to be telling these Black stories has also helped with the longevity, because, you know, being in the center of those stories. And maybe you could speak a little bit to that, the longevity of your careers in being in Black spaces.
You know,
that's what I'm saying. You have to have a craft. It's a craft. You have to get those lines down. You have to be on time. You have to know how to work with another actor. You have to be good at what you do. And everybody here is very successful at doing what they know how to do. I mean, absolutely. Go ahead, Sheryl. Go ahead, Lynn. You know what I'm talking about. Hey, baby girl up there. Wendy, you know.
Well, it's about relationships. You know, when Loretta talks about longevity, it is about relationship. Who knows you? Who likes working with you? Who feels that when you come to their set, you will add something wonderful to their set? When I look at Larenz, I know Larenz has been working since he was 12 years old, because I was right there with him. And I can honestly say, I'm real good at this. I looked at little Larenz Tate and I said, Larenz Tate, you are going to grow up and them little girls are going to throw their panties at you.
You can say that.
Good young man. Be a good young man and respect those little. I remember that like it was yesterday. Yes. Wow. I was 19 years old when I started with Mr. Sidney Poitier in my first film, A Piece of the Action, and the way he mentored me and cared about the steps that I took in my career. Mr. Poitier said to me, this industry has very little to offer you right now, but if you hone your craft, if you continue to study, if you continue to let them know that you are someone to be paid attention to, I expect great things from you. And I'm sure each one of us have somebody that mentored us or told us something about our value and what we could add to this industry. Because if that didn't happen, we would not keep going up against what we have to continue to go up against.
Yeah, and we have to continue to celebrate those you know, great icons and those people who, as you said, you know, work so hard to build, you know, a way for us. You all have built ways for so many actresses are here now. I just hope that they can acknowledge you all and to understand the efforts that you all had to, you know, put forth, the doors that you had to knock down, and to stay in those rooms is really, really difficult, and to keep a level of integrity and dignity while you're doing all of that and remaining talented. And I think oftentimes we see, you know, some of the new artists or some of the people who are famous or who are popular right now sort of have a sense of entitlement, like this is what they're supposed to be, and they don't really work as hard. And, you know, I'm really big on, you know, making sure that you all are celebrated and that you all are acknowledged, because you really have done so much for so many, whether they know that or not. It's important for us to continue to acknowledge you all, and as also as Black women, it's even crazier. It's even crazier for what you all have to endure. It's totally different. And I know that, and I can see that. I may not walk through the same, shoes and steps, but I can see it and I can feel it. And again, I just want to, acknowledge all of you and thank you for all of your contributions of what you have been able to do for us as a community and for us as artists, and continue to do that. We will celebrate you and uplift you, Queen Lynn, Queen Sheryl, Queen Loretta, also Queen Wendy. It's really
I'm the baby queen. I'm the baby queen.
You are. Yes, you are. Yes, you're
in there with her.
Princess Queen.
Princess, I'm on my way.
Princess, you're Princess Queen.
Baby queen too.
You know what's so interesting? I call this season my learning curve. I learned so much this season about this. It's a new game out there. When you talk about entitlement, it was the never have I ever. Never have I ever seen actors leave because, oh, I'm tired and I'm leaving, but we still have 4 scenes left on the call sheet. It was never have I ever seen what I saw this season. And I guess it's for a reason. I don't know.
Yes, it is, because you made it look so easy.
Really talented people. Listen, really talented.
Wow.
Listen, really talented people, really gifted, talented people make what they do look effortless. Like there's like these people, like it's, but it's so that's not it. There's work that's put into this, and so this entitlement now, and it's okay, Princess Queen Wendy, to remind them that they can't just be walking off stage and set like that. So you gotta because you have to take care of each other. Yeah.
Okay, I had to say, okay, now what would Sheryl Lee and what would Lynn and what would Loretta do?
Yes.
Yes. You know, and
they would check them. They would put the check down. That's what they would do. And rightfully so.
We have responsibility now, but it is different because now it's Insta famous. It's Instagram, it's TikTok, you know, and nothing is wrong with those platforms. I love those platforms. I went viral on one, but but what it does, it just really reshapes a lot of things in different ways with that sense of entitlement. It's like, oh, I earned to be here at the table because of X, Y, and Z. And I'm not knocking anything or anybody. How you get to the table is great, but it's about what do you bring to the table as well. Because that table
now, I think with what we've all just heard, now let's think all the way back. Do you know that there have been artists since the beginning of this whole industry who have come to it with a sense of entitlement? And there have always been the seasoned artists to help them grow their game. I was watching a story the other day, and they were upset. I think it was Olivier. He was upset because he had to make a movie with this upstart, flash in the pan, famous for being naked, young actress by the name of Marilyn Monroe. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I love that film.
What
the name of that film, but it was so good. She was so good in it.
And it's reality.
Actually upstaged everybody.
That movie, she was some sort of a showgirl in London or something.
Yes.
But she came, and they were the people, the seasoned artists, some of them were upset because they were saying, where did she come from? What has she done? You can think about Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
People said about Elvis Presley, how in the world is Elvis Presley gonna come here, get all these movies, and he's got no acting talent? The fact is, there is always some medium that can shoot people to stardom, whether it's one night on Ed Sullivan back in the day, or whether it's on those phone lines when people would get on phones and they would talk about people's talent, or whether it was the US postal system. Now we just have a quicker way to get there. But what is important is how you get there. If you get there, you're lucky enough to get there. But now the thing is, can you stay there?
That's the longevity.
I amen that. Yes.
You know, I had my acting teacher, David LeGrand, here that I studied with after Howard and after everything. He would pair experienced actors and actors with less experience. And I've had some really magical moments with people with less experience, because creating a true moment, just both parties have to be available and be there. So I don't really make the delineation of like they're younger or less experienced, unless it's disrespectful,
I was just talking about
it's the professionalism. I think you were talking about the professionalism.
Yes, professionalism part. But there are people with less experience that I've seen turn out some incredible work. And I love working with first-time directors, actually, sometimes, and all of that. You can't get really comfortable in your old tricks when you're
your old tricks. Exactly.
You got live on your feet. I mean, it can be exciting because, again, as we talk, and people will be this, I don't want to discourage young artists and that, you have to have the long road to get where you're going to be excellent. Not necessarily true.
Not necessarily.
But the application of the work is what's important. And that thing of like, what would I do if like people are being all disrespectful? You know what? I try to do it by example because it's just too much going on. So I just try to do it by
and you were there for me, Lynn, on my very first film.
Yeah. What was your very first? Thin, no.
Yes.
The very first.
Yes. It was Thin Line. And you took me under your arm and you said, sweetheart, next time you just go to your trailer. I will never forget that. I will never forget that. You came and you took me under your wing. It was a very emotional time.
Were you just hanging out there and waiting and not in the
No, it was worse than that. It was
that way. When I am more like when I see a young performer or somebody who doesn't have, because also, some people are just entitled and some are so afraid of making a mistake. And so I try to, because I had one very mature actor, not a Black actor, but really leave me hanging out there. One. And I vowed then that I would never, ever do that because it's nothing. The first time you go on a set, you've never done a movie. And it's like all this stuff is happening. Like if you're used to theater, so, they do your makeup, somebody you don't know is touching your face, somebody else, and it's like, bop, bop, bop. Okay, action. It's like, and 100 people are like, okay, don't F up. It's terrifying.
Now cry.
And so sometimes the support that we can give a younger artist is also really good. And yes, because that's right.
It was at a time. It could have broken me.
It pays to be good, to be nice all the time, because it can come back and bite you in the ass. I can.
Yeah, exactly.
So if anybody has seen Loretta in P Valley,
baby,
baby, it is so. Oh my God!
Greatest young.
You are so good in it. I love it so much.
It's amazing.
I'm so jealous. That's one of the ones that I might covet. I love that. Yes. I love that you're out there with all of that, and you just. And for your character, the way you just slide right in, it's amazing. Perfect. Yes. I forgot. I haven't talked with you since I saw P Valley. Right. I watched the whole thing over the pandemic. I said,
I did too.
I said, now, could I possibly, I don't know if I would have the courage to do what they're doing, but I absolutely
Lynn Whitfield. I know Lynn Whitfield is not just shape her mouth.
Acting in it. I love all the breasts. I love all the. I love it all. It's so good. Loretta, tell him I want to be in it.
I think that speaks to the amazing talent and again, speaks to the longevity that you all have had, and that you still have all these amazing roles over the years. And so I know that we have to wrap in a few minutes. I guess my question to you is, in some ways, I feel like being Black famous has been enriching because it has given a lot, it has given you an opportunity to play a lot of different roles and have so much range. And I'm wondering what I know we got to wrap in a few minutes, what your final thoughts as far as, what your relationship to the Black community and the roles that you have done has done in your careers.
For me, I'd have to say from Dreamgirls to Moesha to Sister Act 2 to Ray Donovan to Motherland, to now Abbott Elementary. I thank my audience, my audiences for staying with me, hanging with me, and loving me from show to show to show. This has been probably one of the most amazing things that I have been able to be in an industry that I absolutely love, to do something that I would actually do for free. Thank God I don't have to, but I'm so happy to be an artist, to have started where I started, to now be where I am, knowing it's not the ending. And I thank my audience and I thank my peers right here with me today. I am so grateful.
Yes, I agree with Sheryl. I think we all feel that way in so many ways. You appreciate it. You can go anywhere in LA, in any airport, anywhere in the world. And we have an audience of all kinds of people now because we are all over the world, thanks to all of the new things that are happening on the internet and Instagram and Netflix and all of the stations that are around. And you have to thank your audience for loving you, because that makes all the difference. Yes.
I totally agree. I'm just so humbled, number one, to be in this company. Like I said before, I do want to leave with this. I always say please and thank you. I met Mara Brockett-Keel when she was a PA on the Sinbad show. And I was like, what you doing here? She's like, I'm just answering the phone. She's like, but I'm a writer. And I said, yes, you are. You are a writer. Cut to 10 years later, she was the creator of not only Girlfriends, but the game. So I want to impart with, see everyone, stop and see everyone. So I've just been trying to be very present. And so in that, I want to say thank you to all of the friends, fans, directors, producers, everybody, and especially to those that are here that are watching this. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm grateful just again to be in the presence of excellence again. And the community is so important. Our community is so important. Everyone who has supported me since I was a little kid. People still remember some of the things that I had done early in my career, and to be able to still do what I love to do. Unlike Sheryl, I wouldn't do it for free. I got a wife and 4 kids. I got to take care of them. Anyway, at the end of the day, I truly am grateful to be able to be in an industry and do something that really, I couldn't imagine doing anything else, to be honest, and to have the support of not only my peers, but the community that is inside of Hollywood and the entertainment industry, but more so just the community and the supporters around the world certainly is a huge part as to why I do what I do. So I'm grateful and thankful.
I'd like to say to thank Hollywood Reporter for doing this, you for coming up with this idea and wanting to have us all here and bringing us all together. I love that. I'm always fearful because I never wanted to be like, yeah, well, when I was a young girl, I did. No, but we didn't do any of that, right? But I would like to say to the people who do love the stories, who do tune in, that it's my passion and my honor to bring humanity to the screen, or whether it be big or TV, streaming, the stage. I take it seriously. I mean, it can be funny, but I never want to speak down to my audience. I'm so grateful for the support of the audience. I am grateful to the new audiences that come on. And I'm just still excited. I am a very excited storyteller, and I just want to tell stories that are interesting, authentic, and keep it moving, because I just have fun doing it. And it's great. I think what we're all saying is it is so lovely, such a blessing to be able to actually really enjoy the work that we do.
That you do.
And the process of it. And at the end of the day, icing on the cake, when it is one of those successes and it builds an audience, as they say in the South, well, I'm in high cotton now.
Okay.
High cotton, baby.
No, you kissing in high cotton now.
Oh,
Yes.
So this whole experience for me has been a high cotton experience.
Mhm.
And I love y'all. I love the audience. I love you, Queen, for wanting to tell this story.
Thank you.
thank you, Nikessa.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Nikessa.
Nikessa.
And yes, so I've been mushy enough. I'm done.
Love to you all.
More. We
Love
want more.
I thank you guys so much. I really enjoyed this conversation. I wish we had more time. I know everyone has their schedules, but I think this will be really illuminating. So thank you so much.
Thank
you.
you.
Welcome.
Bye,
Thank you so
everybody.
much for
Talk to
having us.
you.
Peace and blessings.
Bye.
Keep
Good to see
shining. Keep
everybody.
shining, y'all.
So,
Keep
Loretta,
shining.
tell them I want to be in P Valley. I might even show a little something.